Hey, remote learners, we come now to the last installment of Jason and the Argonauts. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as I have, because I have really enjoyed it. So we left off with Jason and the Argonauts returning to Greece, the Argonauts leaving to go to their own homes and cities, and Jason and Medea with the Golden Fleece returning to Iolcus, where Peleus is still king, and Jason is expecting to become king. Now, I think we can all assume that that's probably going to be a little bit more difficult than Jason thinks. So, Medea and Jason return to Iolcus. And there, they see that Peleus has called a council. And in this council, Peleus is talking about how Jason has accomplished the mission of bringing the Golden Fleece back, but he had help, and so therefore violated the agreement that they had. And so half of the city is on Peleus' side and say, yeah, Jason had all this help. He didn't prove that he would be a good king. He just proved that he knows a lot of people. And then the other half says, well, hold on a second. He knows a lot of people, one of them being Hercules. And it's always good to have Hercules on your side. But he also did a lot of stuff. He was there as well. It's not like he sat back on the couch and didn't do anything at all. And then Jason walks into the assembly with the Golden Fleece and Medea. And when he gets there, he gives the Golden Fleece to the people of Iolcus and say, here, this is for you. And that makes the half that support him even more. They're like, yes, 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 he's awesome. But when the half that support Peleus see that he has a foreign woman with him, they're like, yeah, he's had a lot of help. We don't really like all this help he's had. And then Peleus says, Jason, you can't have the throne. You've had too much help, and we can't give it to you. This council has been summoned to decide whether or not you can even be in this city. And Jason says, whoa, 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 that was not the agreement. You said if I brought back the fleece, I'd be king. And King Peleus says, yeah, that was for you to prove yourself a good king. And you didn't do enough on the quest to prove yourself a good king. You've just proved that you know people. And so Jason sees that half of the people are against him and half the people are for him, and that tensions are rising, and a lot of people are getting angry, and there's some fights break out. And in order to stop a civil war from happening, Jason backs down. He says, okay, here's the fleece. I'll just wait it out, and I won't claim to be king right now. And so Jason's thinking that Peleus is really old, and he'll probably die soon, so he'll just wait until Peleus dies, and then he'll become king. But time goes on and on, and on, and on, and Peleus hasn't died yet. And Jason is still not the king. And so Medea sees how depressed Jason is getting, and she really wants to help him. And so she says, Jason, will you please let me help you? Jason says, no, no, no. Let it just work itself out. And then some more time passes by, and Medea asks again, and this time Jason says, yes, help me out. Give me some help. And so Medea disguises herself as an old woman who sells medicine and necklaces and trinkets and stuff, all a bunch of stuff that the royal family might want to look at and buy. So she goes to the palace, and I should mention here at this point that Peleus has 3 daughters. And so these 3 daughters come down and they're looking through Medea's card and they're wondering what they should buy, and then they all talk amongst themselves about how sad it is that their father's getting so old and how they don't want him to die and how they don't want to live in a world without him, which is very human stuff. That's very, very true. But Medea takes advantage of this, and she says, well, you know, girls, I have a medicine. I have a little medicine that can cure old age. And the girls say, what? What? Give it to us. We'll buy it. What's your price? And Medea says, it's free. But most people don't like doing it because they're scared. And then the girls kind of get cautious and they're like, okay, so what do we have to do? Medea says, you have to kill your father. You have to chop him up. You have to put him in a pot of boiling water and then add the medicine. And the girls say, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. We're not stupid. And Medea says, well, I can prove it to you. And so she gets a pot, a large pot, like a cauldron, and she starts boiling water in it. And then she takes a very old goat. She chops the goat up and she throws the goat into the pot. And then she adds some herbs and a little bit of liquid from a vial, and out springs a young goat, brand new. And the daughters are amazed. They're amazed. And so they say, you've proved that this works. We'll do it tonight. And so, in the middle of the night, when King Peleus is sleeping, his daughters dragged him out of bed, chopped him up, and threw him into a boiling cauldron. When they added the herbs and the liquid, they thought that it would be an immediate reemergence of their father, young and strong and healthy. But they waited a minute, and then they waited an hour, and nothing came out. And so in their despair, the 3 daughters cried themselves to death. But the gods took pity on them and turned them into 3 rivers that now flow through Greece. So when the people hear about this, they are shocked and appalled. And they assume that it's probably Medea, because she's the only foreigner in the city. And so all of the city turns against Jason. Because of this crime, this heinous act, no one wants Jason to be king, especially if Medea will be the queen. And so what the citizens of Iolcus do is they raid the dungeons of the palace, and they get old King Aeson, Jason's father. And they say, Aeson, you can be king again, but under one condition. King Aeson says, what's that condition? And the condition is that he can never name Jason as heir to the throne. And so Aeson says, that's really unfortunate, but I would very much like to be king. And so he agrees. And then Aeson becomes king of Iolcus again. Now, Aeson and Jason are reunited, and they're very happy. But Jason and Aeson are both sad that Jason cannot be king of Iolcus. And so, like any good father, Aeson starts looking for what the best thing, or for what he could do to bring about the best outcome for Jason. And so he finds a king, the king of Corinth, who has a daughter but no sons. And he has no heir either. And so King Aeson proposes that Jason marry this princess. And the king promised that once he dies, Jason, because he's married to the princess, will become the king of Corinth. And Jason says, that's a great idea. But he doesn't tell Medea. What he does say is that they're leaving Iolcus and moving to Corinth. And Medea's like, okay, that's fine. And at this point, after all the time has passed by, Jason and Medea have 2 children. Once Jason and Medea and their children get to Corinth and move into their new home, the plan is revealed to Medea, and she is not happy at all. She does not want Jason to marry someone else. But it's very understandable. But Jason is like, this is the only way that I can become king, and this is what we're doing. And Medea says, well, you can do it, but I'll leave you if you do it. And Jason says, fine, leave. And then Medea says, actually, maybe I'm speaking too quickly. I haven't really thought this through, but now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. In fact, I like this plan so much. Let me make you a gift to give your new bride. And Jason says, wow, that's so nice. So Medea makes a beautiful gown. She gives it to Jason to give the princess. And so Jason goes to the palace, finds the princess, and gives the princess the gown. The princess, of course, says, let me try it on. And when she puts it on and twirls around, she bursts into flames and dies. Jason runs back to the house and finds his 2 children dead. They were killed by Medea. And he runs to the backyard because he couldn't find Medea in the house, and there stands Medea in a chariot drawn by 2 dragons. And she points at him and says, a curse be upon you, you worker of evil. May you never find rest and never be happy and die in the shadows. And then she takes off, and her dragons pull her chariot into the sky, and she's never seen again. Jason is obviously run out of Corinth for what happened, and he spends the final years of his life going around Greece looking for a place to stay, but no one will let him in. And eventually he winds up back at the beach, sitting underneath the shadow of the ship Argo. But at this point it's old and rotten and falling apart. And as Jason sits there underneath the Argo, contemplating all the things that happened in his life, from the great journey he undertook to the great misfortune he found when he came back home, the mast of the Argo breaks, falls, and crushes him, and Jason dies. And that's the end of Jason and the Argonauts. So there you go. Hopefully you've taken some great notes. I know there's been a little mix-up about when the quiz is. The quiz will be on Monday. The quiz will be on Monday. It's going to be 20 questions, multiple choice. If you have any questions, please email me. Yeah, that's it. Starting next week, we're going to go through some Latin grammar again, so I highly suggest you brush up on chapters 1 through 9, and we'll look at 10 and 11 starting next week. So good luck. Study hard. I hope you're taking great notes. Remember, the quiz will be on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Goodbye.